Welcome to Status Quo. Still sounds like ass. Still doesn't work in the Bronx. And still being blowtorched by WNYC.
Welcome to the ERN podcast, folks. My name is Gabriel, and today we are joined by a fleet of very interesting people. I won't call them guests because they're probably going to be here every week, and they might as well just be their home, but whatever. Anyways, where I am joined by our primary fuckboy, Cameron.
Yeah. I'll take it.
and then over here with our currently our only sponsor, Anna.
Pay me money, god damn it.
This episode is sponsored by WACN Technologies.
It always is, god damn it.
And then we got Mr. Sterling himself. What's up, John?
Sterling has an Alert Eagle equipment rack.
I feel so sorry for you.
And we'll have to get
You
into that
should feel
later.
bad for them.
We'll have to get into that in a second. And then you have the one, the only, the person in Oregon, Evan.
Hey, what's up?
So for those who haven't listened to the last episode, we were actually talking about, what was it, FSK, right, Anna?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we were mentioning bringing Evan in here, and then we just brought him in, forgetting about that whole thing.
Welcome
What's
to
up?
our 2-second attention span.
So
Glad
yeah,
to be
Gabe,
here.
Gabe, do you want to introduce
Yeah.
Evan to tell everyone what he does?
Evan exists.
I exist.
That's about right.
Yep, I do.
Evan exists.
A
Yeah.
more proper thing is, why doesn't Evan introduce himself?
That's fair.
Yeah,
Evan,
okay, we'll
plug
do
your
that.
YouTube channel. Go.
Oh, I'll do it. Okay, I'm Evan. I do EAS hardware stuff, lots of broadcast hardware stuff. I work on radio repeater systems. I like RF mechanics, electrical engineering, all those wonderful things. You can find out more about me at evan.kj7bre.com. It's my personal website where I post projects and stuff. And yeah, I've been having a fun time with ERN here and their phone system, along with helping develop software and all those wonderful things.
Speaking of software development, let's talk about our current project.
Yeah, let's talk
Project
about that.
EasyCap.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this
So,
is Trilithic
so,
is defunct, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, Trilithic is screwed. They won't give us software. So we got an EasyCap.
Yeah.
And reverse engineered the ever living shit out of it.
As we
Reverse
always
en-
do.
Yep.
It's been three days now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just going to
Day and
keep on
night.
going the longer and more horribly programmed the unit is. Fun
We
fact.
live and breathe PYC files.
Yeah.
We live in a society.
Fun fact: the entirety of the back end of the Easy Cap and certain parts of the Easy Plus are written in Python.
Yep,
Which is
with C
bizarre.
interpreters, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure how the Easy Plus does it yet. All I know is it's there,
Yeah.
and
It
it's so
exists.
bizarre because it's an
Well,
Easy Plus.
the Easy Plus and IP and Cast all use ARM-based processors.
Yeah.
If I believe,
Yeah, but
if I'm correct, I think.
it was like they use some kind of like weird real-time OS, and I didn't ever think that Python would run on something like that. But no, it's there.
Nope.
And it
has some
do.
sort of interpreter.
Yeah, it's there and it do.
But yeah, we've been working on that for the past couple of days. Pretty nice. Now that we got our hands on a physical unit. Speaking of
Thanks.
EAS. Oh yeah,
So we've-
thank you,
yeah,
JJ.
Thank you, JJ. We spent way too much money on that unit, but it was worth it.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so if you want to just get right over to we're gonna do a little blurb of the emergency alert system, and then we're gonna talk with John about his experience at Sterling.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
went to the actual office today.
Yeah, and I am somewhat jealous.
So I actually, believe it or not, I asked them and they actually don't hate me there, contrary to popular belief.
Bruh.
Surprising.
No. The only confirmed vendetta against an EAS content creator is MWS Memphis and Ari.
Yeah, basically.
Fun fact. A lot of Sterling's equipment runs on Python. Fun
Really?
fact. If you
Interesting.
ever get a job with the National Weather Service, learn Python.
See, I want to go to my WFO office. I just haven't done that yet.
I was the first tour. I went on the first open tour thing since COVID. So
nice.
Really? I don't even know if they do tours. I might just call them up and ask.
I know a guy that's a forecaster there, so he hooks me up with stuff.
Oh, okay.
So,
so we'll have to get into more of the,
are pretty nice
the WFO
to me.
stuff.
I'll have to get into that a little bit later.
The only tour that I've gone on is I went on the tour of the office that serves the where is it? It's like Lower California area. Like
San Diego, Los Angeles, Sacramento.
It's Los Angeles, but it isn't Los Angeles. I forget what the actual office is, where it is. But
Oxnard.
Yeah, Oxnard.
Talk about
Oxnard.
the WFO tag, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool. And I want to go check out Milwaukee, but that's a far ways away, and I can't do that yet.
Yeah.
Not on foot, at least.
Actually, I should go drive up to the PQR and see.
I drove to Sterling, and I had to pay $10 because toll roads.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so John will give us more of an in-depth look at what he found at Sterling. So, yeah, Gabe, you want to take it away and
CRS?
They don't have any CRS anymore. I'll tell you more about that later.
All right.
Big disappointment.
See ya. All right, guys. So we left off last week. We were talking about the EBS and the very beginnings of the specific area messaging coding protocol that the NWS is using. Well, that ended up turning into an FSK or AFSK signal, and with a bunch of tweaks that were made that the government requested. Boom, EAS and /NWR same was pretty much in the early development at that point. But yeah, Evan, FSK time. Do you want to explain how the bursts are?
Sure. Well, first of all, you almost made a mistake that so many people are making.
I know.
Which is the FSK and AFSK thing, and I want to kind of get into that first of all. So just to give a bit of a background of what FSK actually is, FSK is a data encoding method or data modulation method, which is used to transfer data over usually an audio line. So FSK is frequency shift keying, and AFSK is audio frequency shift keying. They sound like they're the exact same thing, but they're not. FSK is actually used on radio and is involving two different radio frequencies or more in which you shift between. You shift your carrier between those frequencies. But with AFSK, we're actually using two audio frequencies, and I forget what they are for the EAS for same.
It's 520 520 baud, and then it's 1562 and 2083.
Yeah. So basically, it's we're going between those two frequencies in 1 and 0 on-off Boolean state fashion to represent bytes of data, and then from there we can encode strings. Now, if everybody here probably already knows this, but anybody listening might not. But we send those data packets 3 times at the beginning and end of a message. So at the beginning, we send 3 data packets that tell basically the who, what, where of the alert. Don't
forget the when.
It tells the when. Yep. So it tells us who sent it, in EAS originator, civil, weather, whoever. Tells us where using a thing called FIPS codes, which we could talk about at another point. The when tells us the time it was issued in UTC, the duration, and the why, or what's happening. Would be some sort of event code. There are 3 letters. For instance, tornadoes, TOR, required weekly test, RWT, and so on. But yeah, the FSK system it sounds like it's kind of an outdated system, but it's actually kind of used everywhere still. We still use it in a lot of radio telemetry things, such as the like water. The one that comes to mind off the top of my head that's still like a low baud rate is actually like municipal water. So controlling well pumps around in a county to fill up a water tower. We still use it for paging. Like newer radio systems still use like higher baud rate versions of FSK.
APRS.
APRS, yeah, that's amateur radio though. Yeah. But like Motorola in their Moturbo system uses something similar. It's not FSK though. It's another weird thing. But it's FSK is definitely something that if you're interested in radio and data encoding methods, is definitely something to look into. It's a very common thing. In fact, that's how caller ID worked on older phones on your telephone lines. You would send that data over FSK to the phone, and that's how you would get the name of a person. So it's literally used everywhere, including actually, I think. Does anybody know if they use FSK for RDS?
I have no clue.
Yes, they do.
They do? Yeah, I think
so.
They use it. Maybe Baudot, but I think it's FSK.
You know what?
But
I'm
yeah,
gonna look that up.
Yeah. Okay. While you're looking that up, I'll kind of explain what RDS is real fast. RDS is actually when you're listening to a radio station in your car or something like that, and you see the text of the song playing on your screen or the name of the radio station. That's handled by a system called a radio data system, or RDS. It's encoded on the sideband of the actual radio station's frequency. So they can send a bit of data to display some text on your screen. Though I believe that uses FSK for encoding. Yeah, basically my whole point is FSK is used everywhere in applications that you probably didn't even think about. And it's been used in the emergency alert system since really it was used up until when did they start using SAME encoding?
For the emergency alert system, they started using the emergency alert system always used.
You're really quiet, Gabe.
What the hell? There we go. Sorry. The emergency alert system has always used SAME encoding. It was because they transitioned from the EBS to the EAS, and that was already implemented before they made that transition. And no other radio started using SAME encoding in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, it's been used for a long time, and also they used it with like modem telephone communications. Except that was more of a what do they use for that? They use phase shift keying for a lot of that. PSK, which is another type, which is actually while we're on that topic, actually of PSK, PSK is what's used a lot now. Because it's the best way to fit the most amount of data into a RF carried signal. We use PSK in our cellular communications industry mainly, but it's used really everywhere now. PSK, and if I could explain that, but that would take a really long time. But if you're interested, definitely look into what PSK is. Not frequency, phase shift keying. It's another type of data modulation method.
Yeah. So basically for SAME and how it's used in EAS, it starts out with ZCZC, which it's an intention text. As well as
the actual thing is to actually sync the receiving and transmitting stations.
Real quick,
I thought that was the actual preamble, which is 1010111.
Real quick.
Yeah, that's part of the ZCZC data. It's so you can get the receiving in sync with the transmission, so it will actually decode the bytes in the proper segments.
I'm referring to the actual letters ZCZC and the actual protocol string.
Real quick, back from my RDS, they use BPSK.
So it's basically like BODOT.
Yeah, it's binary PSK.
Okay. Okay.
And
It's not FSK for anybody who is wondering.
ZCZC is the identifier to say that it's the start of an alert, not the end, because both the beginning and the alert, both the beginning and the end use the same sync code, so there's no way to tell if it's the start of an alert or the end of the alert from that. So it uses ZCZC as an identifier saying this is the start of an alert. And NNNN is the identifier saying this is the end of an alert. Because
I think I should have also made that clear. It only sends the alert data at the beginning. At the end, it's just a finish. Like, it's not the same at the beginning and end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to get a little more into that in the actual protocol. So the idea, the idea behind the same protocol is to provide who issued an alert, what the alert is, when it was issued, where it affects, and how long it'll take for it to expire, and where you are receiving the alert from.
And it was designed to send it as fast as possible for the equipment at the time. That wasn't using 1200 baud for some odd reason, which would have made it way faster.
It still does a pretty decent job to this day.
Yes, it does.
I mean, the longest header sequence is what, like a good 8 seconds. That's 8 seconds to alert several people saying, "Hey, this is exactly what's going on," or at least get the process started. Unless you're ERN, where we make 20-minute headers.
We're also we're relying heavily on those audio messages. Like, that's just enough to get the CG to actually, or character generator to display the necessary information.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
To be like ADA compliant and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. So when you break down the protocol, you get you have ZCZC, which is a decoder attention, and then you have the originator code, which you have used to be 5, now it is 4. Primary entry point system, or PEP, civil authorities.
I
or
forgot
CIV,
that exists.
WXR, which is a National Weather Service, or if you are in Canada, it's Environment Canada. EAS, or for EAS participant, and then you have EAN, Emergency Action Notification Network, which is no longer used. Basically, that was an alternate originator code to PEP at the time.
Wasn't it the precursor to it being the actual event code?
No, because the idea behind it was the EAN was one of the original event codes, but the actual but they elected to use the PEP as its primary origination as opposed to EAN.
I think
okay.
I think EAN carried over from EBS.
EAN did carry over. EAN has been carried since the term emergency action notification has been carried on since Conrad.
Yeah, I thought so.
This is an emergency action notification. Official messages will follow after this tone.
Anyway,
sadly we never got one.
What do you mean, sadly?
World War III, anybody?
Evan just wants to watch the world
ready to
burn.
get fucking drafted.
I don't, but I honestly want to see if the system, as a mass would work on EAN as a PEP origination. It's been a while since we tested.
2016?
2011.
Yeah, 2011.
Yep. 11 years.
Yeah, 2011.
I want to see. It's been dude, it's been over 10 years.
Walk up to a PEP with a frickin' bow thing.
Yeah, that won't do it. We have to get into EMNet or something like that.
For legal reasons, that is a horrible joke.
For legal reasons,
yes,
if you do that, we will hunt
we're
you
absolutely
down.
100% joking. We all know the implications, and I've had to report people to the FCC for some crazy stuff they've tried to do.
Yeah.
So let me give a legal disclaimer. The ERN, none of us here encourage any of the behaviors that were just mentioned. Don't do it. You will be fined. You will be going to jail for a very long time.
Most of us have a license or a license holder with the FCC and know the implications.
I mean, no, it isn't John. It's someone else. Evan and I both have amateur radio licenses. Gabe,
I have a memorandum of agreement with iPods.
Both-
FEMA.
Same here.
Gabe, Evan, and I all hold agreements. With
We
iPods.
all hold the government and their 3-letter agencies at heart.
Don is Cam is very, very, very friendly with Daz, and I'm pretty sure Daz would not appreciate PEP fuckery. And then
you have John.
If
Then
Daz
you
is
have John.
watching,
I feel like-
I want to say hi. I'm your biggest fan.
I feel like John would sit back and watch.
Yeah.
He would just
I'm
complain
gonna-
about Sterling the whole time.
Actually, while we're on this subject, though, it is interesting because SAME is such a generic data modulation method, right? How easily vulnerable it is.
Well, it's vulnerable if you know what you're doing with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's kind
Well,
of.
Yeah.
The issue is, honestly, I'm going to argue with that. You don't need to know what you're doing with it. That's why you have all these kids who grab some online library frickin' person we do not mention's EAS encoder,
Yeah.
and then plug it into a Baofeng and think that it's a wonderful time to just play tones over the air. They're not thinking about the implications. They don't know how the system works. They just think, "Ha
And also,
I can make
this doesn't
funny
even-
weather radio go burr."
This doesn't even just go for the emergency alert system. Like we had the Dallas tornado siren hack, right?
Yeah.
So someone obviously on a test day took their phone, recorded the DTMF tones that activate the system, and then played it back into some handheld transmitter, and it activated the sirens. There's many methods that you don't use checksums and don't use any sort of security validation that are still around. And I mean, there's technology now that's done that, but
what's
DTMF
really,
two-tone and FSK have been around the longest, and it's what's used.
You know what's really
Still.
funny about playing an EAS over NWR through Baofangs?
There's nothing
What?
funny about it.
There really
No,
is.
no, 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 no. NWS has equipment that decodes it. They have equipment at their office. They decode it. You're fucked if you get it over their station and they have it monitored. You're fucked. They can listen.
That doesn't sound right.
They can not only listen through back looping through their transmitters, but they actually have equipment. Remember, I went today. Are
you talking about their uplink, or are you talking about just generally on the frequency?
They have an Alert Eagle machine, therefore they monitor all their stations that they can get at their office to monitor, and they have same codes that go off every. They have a literal EAS kind of decoder at their office that decodes all the same codes.
So are you saying if I went onto a NOAA weather radio frequency and transmitted that they would pick it up?
Yeah.
Note that we would not do this.
That wouldn't
Do
work.
not do it. Do not. Yes, they will.
No, I'm saying that wouldn't work because the issue is with that is you would be fighting over their carrier.
And their carrier is
Well,
their
carrier wave.
Depends on how far it's away.
Yeah.
No, you would have what's called descents or intermod, which would prevent that from happening because they're transmitting at kilowatts of power and you're transmitting at 5 watts.
Unless you were
That just
outside their office, the only thing that it will do, if you're close enough, it will just scramble the signal, and if you're farther away, they won't hear anything.
So that system sounds like it's more to protect their uplink, which is what actually I'm super worried about.
They have systems for everything over there. I was looking at them.
For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, who are listening, FM radio stations, NOAA weather. I will point out some NOAA weather radio stations have what's called an uplink, and it's like, how do you get you're listening to 101.1 FM, right? How do they get the audio from the studio up to the radio tower? Well, they have another frequency called the uplink channel, and they transmit on 20 watts, 5 watts or whatever up to the transmitter tower, and then up there it can receives it and broadcasts it at 5 to 15 kilowatts or whatever they want to do.
Oh, that reminds me.
And if you can put data into that, then the transmitter transmits it, and that's really a big issue, especially if that's like a PEP or something.
I was in the car 1 or 2 days ago, and I was listening to DC 101, which is an iHeart station, not sponsored, by the way. I was driving down the road, and all of a sudden, I guess it was their uplink, their station literally crashed and went static for a good 10 seconds. It crashed, and
that sounds like a problem with their uplink.
DC, right? I'm right outside DC, right? Perfect signal. It just static, like for 10 seconds, and I'm like, it was a good song, and what the
was it static, like static from your car, or was it like
no
static on their audio?
On their audio.
So that sounds like the uplink receiver.
It wasn't the car.
Crashing.
It was not my car. I can confirm it was not my car because obviously.
Okay, that sounds like a problem with their uplink, because here's the thing: you would actually you would be hearing. You're hearing the transmitter on the transmitter on the uplink failing, or you're hearing.
It's probably what happened.
Which is not the case, because you just told me you could hear static over their audio.
To be fair, that was the first time I've ever heard them do that, which makes me pretty rare because like I've listened to the station for so long, I'd never heard it before. But okay, yeah. iHeart.
Because like
99.99%.
And like carrier, like people don't really understand like carrier, because it's weird, because it's like you're transmitting on like 103.3, but like you're playing other audio frequencies over that frequency, right? So like when you like listen to an FM radio station, it has the ability to be silent. Like they could just transmit nothing, and as long as there's a carrier there, it's going to stay silent on your speakers. But as soon as that carrier goes away, you're hearing the static of just the radio spectrum.
That is something you sometimes hear on NWR, where like the voice cuts out and it's still transmitting. It's still got the uplink. It's just that there's no voice.
And you can hear the small hums in the background.
Yeah,
like that's their audio, but you only hear it crash when their carrier's out.
Speaking of NWR, let's get back on track for about the history of the EAS. Hey, Gabe, you want to continue?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah, sure. Fuck, what were we talking about? We were talking about shit.
I think you just finished like the protocol.
The protocol.
Yeah. So, there is one thing I didn't get to in the protocol side of things. We got to event code and immediately froze up. So
yeah, we got really off topic there.
That's all right.
Welcome to the ERN podcast. This is normal.
Welcome to the ERN podcast, where we have long tangents that pad out our runtime.
Normally, it's
anyways, so we have our event codes, which basically you got your administrative message, avalanche watch, practice demo warning. I don't know, national silent
EAN,
test, that kind of
BERT.
EAN, and that
SMW,
the Sterling special. So yeah, basically you have the event code that determines what the event actually is. Then right after that, you have your location codes. You can have up to 31 of them, and they in the United States we use FIPS codes. Now FIPS codes, or the Federal Information Processing System, that actually handles the FIPS codes.
Is that what FIPS stands for?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it stands for Federal Information Processing System. And the Federal Information Processing Standard.
There you go. That's why it sounded off.
Okay. Basically, every state has a 2-letter number, because we only have two-letter number. We only have two number. We only have we're only in the double digits as far as states are concerned. So, like for example, Washington is number 53. And with that, we put a zero behind it if we're talking about the entirety of the state, or if you look at a number pad on a phone, you can see outside of the zero, and if 5 is your center, you can have your everything around it, including the 5 are subdivisions. So say 5 is your central one, and then you do like northwest, northeast, that kind of thing. And that's why, and then basically say if I wanted to do central say if I wanted to do Central Washington State, I could do 5 or 553,000 because the 000.
I never realized it was done in the layout of the keypad.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
The 000 is the statewide code.
Yeah,
Wow.
I guess I never noticed that either. I guess it's really nice to be able to not forget it.
So like 4 is gonna be west.
The easiest way that I remember this, and this is how I taught myself this, is draw a 9x9 grid. Start by 1, go 1, 2, 3, then you go down one line, 4, 5, 6, down one line, 7, 8, 9. And then 0 is basically a circle circling the entire...
You mean 3x3?
9 total.
9 total.
3x3 grid. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then the way I think of 0 is a circle around it. So it circles the entire area.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Draw a circle.
That's just for the... but that is just for the... so those are the first 3 characters. And then the last 3 characters is the county code. County code can vary. Sometimes depending on the area, you can see county codes going up into the 3 digits.
Virginia's
Texas.
Virginia's city codes start at like 6 or go like from like 400 up in increments of 100. It's so confusing.
But so say if I wanted to do all of Snohomish County in Washington, 053061, or if I wanted to do Central Snohomish County, 553061.
Another one that most people forget about is test location 99999. So you can do all of test location 099999 or central test location 599999, or my favorite it's southeast test location 999999.
Yep.
Time to press 9. Boop.
Yep. But yeah, so you have your location code. You can have, like I said earlier, you can have up to 31 of them. If you want the entire state, just make the 0 out the county code. So just be 000. Like for example, all of Washington 053000. But yeah, you get a little diverting just a little bit. In Canada, it's completely fucking random.
In Canada, you kind of just point at a map and hope you have the right one. Because they also mash with the United States codes. Kind of. Not really, but yes, they do, but they don't.
They overlap.
They don't actually overlap, but they overlap enough that it confuses boxes. For example, they kind of fill in the empty areas in the US's FIPS tables. So, for example, the Great Lakes cover like the 9 asterisk area in the quote unquote state codes. They cover that area because they have that area set aside for the Great Lakes. However, a lot of Canada also uses 9. And so if you have an emergency alert box that decodes these, or if you're using EAS to text, which I actually removed Canada, it was actually causing issues where if you sent a code for all of us area in Canada, I think it was like 98000, you would actually overlap with the Great Lakes. So what would happen is you try to send an alert for an entire area in Canada, and you would get Great Lakes. So, yeah, it's a little bit complicated.
Yeah.
A blizzard warning for the Great Lakes.
A volcano warning has been issued for the Great Lakes region.
Fun fact, that's why they make, they sometimes make specific Canada, like Canada-specific weather radios for Weather Radio Canada, just to fix that issue. It's basically a firmware patch.
They're basically just dropping a whole new table in there.
Yeah. But yeah, so you got your location, you got what the event is, and you know who issued it. How long is this supposed to last? Is this going to be like a fucking nuclear strike, or is this going to be somebody hitting a button? So you got your purge time. Four characters in 15 in hours and minutes. Using basically 15-minute increments up to 1 hour, and then for after 1 hour you use up 30-minute increments up to 6 hours, and then hourly increments beyond 6 hours.
Isn't it 7 characters for the? Because you've got you've got the
because that's your UTC.
No, I'm talking purge time. I'm not there yet.
Sorry, I was farther in there.
I'm talking the damn purge.
How long does it last? Not when did it start?
Yeah, when it's okay. By the way, what if you want to talk about? If you want to get onto that, fucking 7 characters. You have the day of the year with leading zeros, and then you have the hours and minutes in UTC with leading zeros. You create your 7 digits. There you go. You happy?
The day of the year is the specific term for it is called the Julian date. Why? Don't ask me. I don't know, but that's just what it is.
It is what it is.
And then after that, you have 8 character station call sign ID. It doesn't have to be 8 characters. It just maxes out at 8 characters, and you cannot use dashes. You have to use slashes.
You can use question marks.
Question mark.
Station in Tennessee still does that.
ERN dash what?
A station in Tennessee still does that.
Yeah.
And then there's a station in Virginia that uses all spaces, which sounds really weird.
Huh?
Because it's all like null bytes and shit.
Yeah,
you can use, I think, slashes, parentheses, dashes, numbers.
You cannot use dashes.
Oh yeah, not
you can't
dashes.
Use dashes because it's part of the protocol.
On certain boxes, you
upper and lowercase letters.
Upper and lowercase if you're trilithic, or just uppercase if you're sage. Numbers. Yeah. Question mark.
But yeah, all of that goes into a really nice, high quality, and then that tells you what the area is, but not once, but 3 times. So you have to go to get your information out.
The easiest way to explain.
And we do that for redundancy. So there's actually comparisons. So it picks the best 2 out of 3.
And in fact.
And if there's not, it'll throw it out.
In fact, you don't need you don't even need all 3. Like, you don't need 2 headers to be exactly the same. For example, on your first header, you can have the first half of the first header fucked up. On your second header, you can have the last half fucked up.
Yeah.
And then on your third header, you can have, you can either have it like perfect, or you can have it somewhat all fucked up. And it will use the data from all of those headers to make a more, to make something valid. In fact, the way that I do it in programming is I take the values from all 3 headers and I compare them. And if 2 headers match in some area, so let's say I get three headers, one says EAN, one says RWT, and then the other one says RWT as well, I can guess, hey, one of these is wrong because 2 of these say RWT, one says EAN. So I'm going to guess.
Nah, clearly it's an EAN.
I'm going to.
Clearly.
Well, if you're an easy plus, it's an EAN. But.
But that's also like that's the scary part about using these FSK systems is like one letter, just changing a few bytes around, or not even you can change a byte around a bit, and it will like literally it can make the whole message have a whole different meaning.
Unless you have a
RWT
because then it has a pretty good filter.
RWT, no, not RWT, EAN and EAT, right? Like, what if you're trying to send a termination and you just send another EAN?
Well,
right.
If a sage fucks up the headers, instead of doing like mixed up codes, it'll do 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and it's happened to me before. It'll randomly spit out all of US.
Fun fact.
Mm-hmm. I've had that happen too.
If you have to send an EAT, I think sending an EAN is the least of your concerns, because that means that one's already gone out.
Yeah,
that's true.
But it does show
funny part about
a flaw
that story
of the emergency alert system, and that's why we sent it 3 times.
I guess also like location wise too, like locations, right? Just getting one number off changes, a whole county and or even a whole different state, right? Like it could really mess with stuff.
Or
Yes, it
you
can.
can have entire characters just break. For example,
And that's why we all love iPods.
yeah. Oh, iPods fixes the whole freaking. You were talking earlier about FSK is so easy to hack. To screw.
Yeah, iPods really
it
does
fixes
fix that.
issue. Although it.
It fixes it with duct
Yeah.
tape.
Because it basically it eliminates. I think currently I could be completely mistaken, but it really does seem like FEMA is trying to phase out the whole PEP system, and they're trying to go more towards each and every station originates, locally from the iPod system, and because
So
the
then what
requirements have
happens-
changed so much that it really does seem like that's the case. And honestly, it's a good move because then it eliminates the
So-
whole daisy chain system,
what
which
happens
is
if it-
super
what happens if-
susceptible.
What
Yeah,
happens
because then
if
you can
the
have
station's
each
internet goes
station as
down?
their own, and then if one station doesn't get that alert, then it goes into that daisy chain.
So then what
Yeah,
if iPods?
like,
What if
that's-
iPods breaks? What if you break? What if you crash iPods again? What happens?
See,
then
Exactly.
it'll
So
probably
the,
go back
the
into the
PEP
daisy chain.
Again.
system still needs to
Yeah.
be there, but like
That's
we
where
also have like
that's
backups
also-
like EMNet and stuff like that.
That's apparently where XM comes in, and also the NPR
Um,
squawk system, which is apparently
so,
regularly tested.
the
apparently.
way the
Really?
way that the EAS is built overall is you have several entry points, and that's why every single or normally almost every single state has rules on what you should and shouldn't monitor. For example, most states have you monitor iPods, well, like one monitor of iPods, one monitor
Required.
of a statewide primary, one monitor of a local primary, one monitor of, and normally also no weather radio. And sometimes also they have some like state phone line system. They want as many ways to issue an alert as feasibly possible, because if, like John said, what happens if iPods goes down? You want another way to send out an alert, because you don't want
As,
your no weather radio station to go off the air, and suddenly now no one knows that a tornado's on the ground.
As far as I'm aware, FCC actually mandates iPods monitoring
Yes.
for all stations.
Yep.
They have to.
They
have,
do, yes.
Actually,
in these like it doesn't have to be the box. It can be a separate box, like the very nice GR Captic, which is still upside down over here.
Yeah, let's not
Still-
mention that.
For some stations with 1822s, that's still legal, but some other stations, the 1822s have a master box, which sends all the iPod stuff over everything.
whenever we found out that's
like a GR cap.
whenever we found out about that system, that was
PMB
really,
all.
that's really cool.
PMB all.
Yeah. There's an entire like cluster of radio stations that they have like one central Sage Digital,
box.
and then all their like clustered stations are 1822s, and they just monitor the Sage Digital.
Yeah.
So
Oh no!
Because who has the money for MSRP?
That's technically wrong, and I know it because the 1822 can get overridden by the 3644. It's happened
Anyway.
before. I was listening to their station, and they said a tour. The 1822 started going off, and then the blue box started going off over the 1822.
anyway,
That happened during the EAN test.
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
Do you remember? Not
Yeah.
the EAN, the national test, the
It happened
NPT.
it did happen during the EAN test, actually.
It did?
of course
Yeah.
it did.
Oh yeah, yeah, it did. But
WCCO's primary unit overrode their PEP unit and created
and
a
then
feedback.
it fed. It looped. Yeah,
Didn't they fix that apparently?
they did. Yeah,
Apparently.
supposedly.
Supposedly.
We'll see on the next EAN test.
Or EAN.
Yeah.
Which I'm hoping. We're still waiting, by the way, because they canceled this year's. Remember, they canceled
What if
this
they
year's
do an
PEP.
EAN next year?
They're supposed to do one at the beginning of 2023,
That's what I heard.
and
but
we're
what-
still
if I-
waiting for dates. And I'm honestly waiting for our good friend over at iPods. Everybody knows him.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad it's
one?
not in August because I'm going either way
which one?
for
We've
3
talked
weeks.
to like 3 different guys.
Ken.
Al?
Oh yeah, freaking. Oh shoot, I messed up their names.
Al Kenyon?
Ken is the guy who works at Sage, right?
No, wait, what?
Who?
I'm messing up all the names tonight. I'm so bad. It's oh gosh.
That's the guy's name. Say Harold.
It's Al,
Harold
right?
Price.
Yeah, Harold at
Price.
Sage. But who's the guy at iPause?
Yeah, we talked
Al
we
Kenyon.
primarily-
Yeah,
Yeah, we primarily talked with Al.
Yeah.
yeah. We've
He's
talked with
fucking
Al a
dope.
few times.
I like working with him.
Yeah, he. I'll have to show you the. There was that one phone call. I'll talk about it later. But I've talked with him a few times, and he's a great guy. The people over at the iPause Lab are all really nice.
Yeah.
What if I go to the
ERN
iPause lab?
tours iPause Lab when?
Then they probably won't be as nice.
ERN tours iPause Lab when?
I know a couple
ERN
people.
tours iPause Lab.
I know a
ERN
couple
meetup
people
at
that
the iPause Lab.
I know a couple of people who work in
The
local
ERN
emergency
convention.
management.
ERN tours iPause Lab and steals the probably one and only existing TFT EAS 911 Plus, and gives it to Anna.
Yeah.
And Anna
One
will
of the,
keep it,
uh,
and Anna will treasure it. Please give me 911
One of
Sounds
the
like a
Cheers.
fun day.
I know like a couple people in local emergency management, and I could probably ask them, "Hey, can I go to iPause Lab?" And they don't.
Well, the
I
thing
don't
is,
know what they'll
we're-
say.
We can talk. We can talk with them because we are. They have. Did any of you attend the iPause events that happened?
I didn't
There's
have
one
time, but I
coming up
watched the
later.
VODs.
I did. I watched the VODs too. I went to one of them because I didn't have time either. It was school
Yeah.
and all that. But
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they're wanting to do some more outreach to their developers. They might be open to doing iPause Lab tour.
Dude.
I don't know. We'll
Hey.
we'll see.
Or at
We'll
least
see.
like a
We'll talk
virtual
about it
tour.
next episode when we send the emails.
If we are going to do an iPause Lab tour, this is the formal announcement that WACN Technologies will formally sponsor that trip.
Well, you said, wait, you're flying me
You
out
know
there
what?
on
You
your
know
money?
what? Fuck it, why not? It's iPause.
Anna's credit card
So
is
Evan,
freaking
the only
out right
condition
now.
is the only condition is
Yep.
Hey Evan, the only
Anna's credit card is quivering.
hey Anna, or not Anna. Hey Evan,
Yes.
the only condition is that you have to go up to SeaTech because we're going down together,
Oh.
bitch.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Evan, here.
Mm,
Hey,
that'll
Evan,
be
here's
fun.
another requirement. This is the ERN Tours iPause Lab. You gotta join.
I can take Amtrak up to SeaTac.
Been on Amtrak before, loved it.
Dude, it's amazing. Have you ever taken the Gabe, have you ever taken the Amtrak line up and down through Washington and Oregon?
No,
Dude, it's so nice. It's such a great trip, especially through Longview and all that. It's amazing.
Welcome aboard the business
I still
class.
have this. $3 off.
Nice. Anyway,
I'll
Man,
actually
$3
be here. I'll
off
be
a
out in
$200
Eastern
trip.
Washington this next week for a camping trip.
Two points about the iPods Lab stuff. One, it's on a military base, so yeah. And two, joke's on you, I can just
Aw.
drive there.
anyway,
I have clearance.
Aw.
back to the emergency alert system. Welcome to ERN.
Well, actually, I was wanting to I was wanting to kind of cut that there because that's more the technical side. Next week we can get into the hardware and how it's
And how
been used.
crappy the easy cap
So the
is.
hardware history.
We're going to reverse engineer every unit on the market.
Well, here,
Oh yeah.
I have the I have the only 911D I can see about.
Don't worry, manufacturers who are listening. We're not doing anything nefarious. We're just looking into how the units work because we love to appreciate
Yeah,
your
and-
engineering.
And we're
Except
Honestly,
enthusiasts.
there's
Trilithics. Fuck the
No,
Except
except for
for
Gorman Redlick. Except
Yeah.
for Gordon Redlick.
Gorman. Here,
okay.
Gorman.
Okay, wait. Can we
I
talk?
will-
Can we? Are we allowed to talk about what we've done to GRs?
Gorman, if you hire me to fix your unit,
let's not.
I will immediately appreciate
we
you,
please?
and I will fix them better than anybody has ever seen. But
Can we talk about the Roblox?
yeah,
Let's not.
Okay.
All right. So, oi, Sterling bitch.
It's
Yeah.
that time of the
Oh,
month
no.
again.
Let's go ahead and
no.
talk about the tour, shall we?
It was on. It's so Sterling's office is located on Dulles Airport property. So in order to go there, you actually have to buzz in through a gate.
Nice.
You actually have to press the button and they let you in. It's actually like you can see all the FedEx planes coming in too.
Doing a cavity search.
No. It's not. It's not.
deck leader. Clear to land.
So,
Dude, you gotta get patted down before you can look at the GL cap deck.
oh. All right,
I gotta search you, boy.
You know what? While we're on this subject, I want because of FCC licensing, the DASDEC 3 is probably in the iPods lab right about now.
Yeah,
it probably is.
Probably getting tested and certified. Probably getting their
yeah, it's already
FCC.
certified.
It already is certified. They did say that.
Have you found their
Yeah.
FCC?
Their FCC licenses was released in like 2020.
Yeah, it was,
Oh, cool.
it
Do
was
we have,
released
do we
like
have the
late
interior
2020.
photos currently?
No.
Yeah,
No.
we should.
no.
In theory.
No, we were. Me and Anna were looking at it off recording. Like what was it, like a month ago? And there was
Okay.
none.
Which
that's sad.
You bet that I'm excited to see what's in there because apparently they've moved completely to a new motherboard. Which like
Really?
it's got HDMI out and now.
Are they still staying on? They're on Intel currently, right?
Intel
I believe
and
they'd
Via.
probably be going further towards Intel because Via is I think defunct and
Defunct.
their
Wouldn't it-
boards are like
yeah.
stupid expensive.
I think they are.
I think
Just wait until we get the AMD cap deck.
it's like freaking it's
Threadripper.
yo, hey Gabe, you know what we should do? We should build an
What's
easy
up?
cap that runs on like an epic.
If I could afford the motherboard for an Epic,
50,000 monitors later, we can monitor every single FM radio station within the continental United States.
Can monitor every stream.
Every
If you
stream,
want-
every monitor,
we
every
just
single EAS
you
source
monitor
to exist.
all you do is that you just monitor every single IceCast stream that's on the public directory for IceCast.
Probably. I mean, or all of NWR.
All
no,
of
that's
it.
really not
That's
Lord.
probably what that processor could handle. Is actually just handle
Actually,
all
with,
the
with
NWR.
my software index, my other laptop could handle all of NWR.org, but it really didn't like it.
Yeah,
My server could
The
handle
reason
it.
why is if you actually look at the streams for NWR.org, they roller coast faster than freaking humans' rights are changing in
Liam.
the U.S.
Damn, that was
That's gotta
Yeah, it
hurt
hurts
somebody.
me. God damn it.
that's definitely the. Yeah, it does.
It should hurt everyone in the U.S.
Yeah.
Honestly, it
And it's
really
sad,
should.
Like, anyway, let's
It
get out
does.
of politics because politics suck.
Yeah, probably don't want to go there.
Political disclaimer here: ERN does not do anything with politics. We try to keep it out as much as possible. We keep our views neutral when we're doing professional work.
We have neutral views. We do not align with any political party, nor do we associate ourselves with it. Our personal beliefs, however, are our own, and they sometimes may be disclaimed. However, keep in mind that the views and opinions herein do not represent the Global Weather and EAS Society EAS Relay Network.
Anna's
Or the
just
network as a
angry.
whole.
Thank you for that wonderful message from our
Anna's
lawyers.
just angry. This message is sponsored by not WACN Technologies because I have no money. Anna is angry.
When does KJ7BRE Communications get to
Well,
sponsor
technically,
something?
you're sponsoring it just by being here.
Give us money.
Okay, you get... I send you 50 cents over PayPal.
Welcome to the ERN podcast, now sponsored by KJ7BRE.
Now, if you're trying to, if
Yeah! You can find me at KJ7BRE.com
/your mom.
/your mom. Actually, I'm going to make that into a domain right now.
Yo.
But yeah,
No, I'm just putting a TXT file underneath that.
So yeah, getting back to the whole topic of Sterling, John, did you want to continue with?
Yeah,
what you were saying?
I'll go for a little bit more. And so they took us in. They did a presentation about what they do, and they talked about all the warnings they issue. And then the guy doing it knows me on Twitter, so when he started talking about the marine products, he just stared at me for like a good 5 seconds because I was in the back of the room and I was just watching this shit, and he just stared at me, and I'm like, "Go on."
Hi, John. Would you like to start spamming the button for us?
So joke's on you. They issued a Spirit Thunderstorm warning while I was in the operations room. They fucking did one while they were talking about it, and then all of a sudden I heard the printer go, and I'm like, oh, they did not. Just and they're like, we just sent an SVR. I'm like, oh fuck, god damn it. And of course, that went off. And now, so the forecast floor has like a lot of machines that run Windows 10. Sorry.
Well, obviously.
There's some Windows XP machines in the other offices, though. Yes,
don't
they run
also
XP.
Run a bunch of? Is it Red Hat? Yeah, it's Red Hat.
I think it's Red Hat. They do have Red Hat machines. So part of it's So they have 5 monitors. Yes, 5. Half of it is the Red Hat shit, and half of it is the Windows stuff.
Yeah, the Red Hat stuff is primarily used for AWIPs.
They have AWIPs. So I got a couple of questions from people about how CRH and BMH, how the new NWR system is in CRS. I could not find any CRS equipment in the office. I looked all over the operations floor. Nothing. They got rid of all of it. So in the old photos on the site, they have like CRS equipment. They don't have that anymore. It's all gone. So they manage everything through AWIPs now, I think.
Yeah, so for context, by the way, the BMH, the broadcast message handler that handles NWR programming, is actually just an extension on top of AWIPs.
It's the system works. I found a directive for how they calibrate SAME stuff, how they calibrate all the equipment. It's really cool. And then they have the amateur radio area, and then next to it they have the Alert Eagle rack. The Alert Eagle rack. It's a literal unit of Alert Eagle. So they have listening stuff, and then they have an EAS decoder for KHP36 in the office. And so it takes all the same headers and it records them. It sounds a siren and shit and whatnot. But the funny part about that is that there is a literal printer next to it. And it literally hasn't been cleared in like 3 days because the flash flood warnings from the 23rd were still on it. If you know what I'm talking about, like from a couple days ago. They were still there. We're recording the 25th, by the way. So they're still there. And the screen on the Alert Eagle machine, like it can detect EOMs, it can detect the headers and the data. And I was looking at the machine, and why the fuck not? The last warning on it was a flood warning.
Are you surprised?
Nice.
No. So they have all sorts of buttons. They have monitors, and then they have no match, FSK lock, EOMs, data, play record. So they have all sorts of
which
shit.
Which Alert Eagles were they? Were they like 2 Eagles side by side, or is it like one big one?
No. So the actual name for it is the Weather Eagle 105 and the Alert Eagle 400.
Because I see a
interesting
on their website. I see a Weather Eagle 110, 110R, which is their rack mount, 110 receiver, and then an AE 120, same EAS decoder. Oh, that's interesting. You know this. Oh,
I wouldn't be surprised though if it was just an updated model.
Yeah.
Oh, also Sterling's call sign is WX4LWX for obvious reasons. So they have someone come in when shit happens, and they have someone monitor. The ham radios.
Oh, really?
Hold on, I'm putting the weather. I'm putting the Alert Eagle photo in.
Is
chat
that through Skywarn?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
check that
cool.
Chat if you want to see the chaos. Note the XM guide on top.
Is anybody else in here actually a spotter?
Me.
I am.
Cool.
They know my spotter ID there.
A spotter. Okay.
I've gone to not 1, not 2, but 3 different office spotter trainings.
When I signed in to Sterling's
it was during COVID.
when I signed in, this is when I went in and signed in, I put my name and then I put FX485, which is my spotter ID. And then after that, I just put the word no, which is still a running joke there. It's still a running joke. And after 2 years, I got revenge. I put it in the book.
Fun fact, I actually, on my latest spotter adventures, whenever I went and did the spotter training for Milwaukee, they're not handing out spotter IDs anymore. In fact, they're
Nope,
not.
not here
No,
either.
it's not just by location. They stopped doing it for the entire country because they were having trouble keeping up the database of who's what spotter where. Yeah, that's why I've been to 3 different trainings and I've never gotten a spotter ID. I've been to trainings for Little Rock, Tulsa, and now Milwaukee, and I still don't have a spotter ID.
Sterling has to give you them apparently because they do things differently there, obviously.
So,
I'm assuming it's
the
WFO
thing is,
specific.
they actually discontinued the Skywarn net out here for amateur radio, like about a year ago.
Well, what weather?
Like, yeah, I know, but it's kind of sad,
understand.
right? So you can't get spotter IDs anymore. What? That's crazy.
Somebody literally brought it up, saying that they had been to 2 different spotter trainings from Milwaukee, and they still hadn't gotten their spotter ID. And they're like, "Yeah, no, they discontinued that national. They nationally discontinued that because what would happen was somebody would do spotter training in one state, then they would move." And whenever they did spotter training in another state to update to that state's standards, they wouldn't tell them that they already had an ID. So what would happen is that they would have the same person with 2 different spotter IDs for 2 different locations. And it would just get confusing because then if they were relatively close. So a good example is, since I was in Arkansas, but my local WFO was Tulsa, I did spotter training for both Little Rock and Tulsa, because I was bored one day and they were doing it all virtually. So if I went and did my Tulsa spotter training, got a spotter ID through Tulsa, and then went to Little Rock and didn't tell them I had a spotter ID, I'd have two spotter IDs for the same location for the same person. And that just causes an issue because since they share their spotter ID tables, all the offices shared their spotter ID tables. Basically, what would happen is I could go and say, "Hey, this is Anna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5." They'd be like, "Which one? There's 2 Annas there."
So what's funny is I'm actually trying to look for my my spotter ID, and I can't find the email.
I forgot mine. I forgot mine a while back.
Yeah,
I never got
the
one.
Spotter, the one that I got was back when I was still living in Tampa.
actually apparently they started discontinuing them per office back in 2019. That's why I never got mine
right.
for both of my trainings from both Little Rock and Tulsa, because Tulsa.
To be fair though, because I did all my training in 18 and I still didn't get mine, so some offices might have ditched it sooner.
Yeah.
I did mine in March of 2021, and they gave me one.
It seems to be a per office thing, but apparently, the per offices now keep their own tables instead of sharing them. But a lot of offices dropped it immediately. Yeah. So.
Well, also the phone numbers were only known per office. So.
Who knows?
It's not like there was a database of phone numbers.
I got my spotter ID on the 12th of May in 2020. So that's 2 years ago.
Would you like me to date you all?
No.
I got my spotter ID in June of 2014.
Gabe is old boy.
Because that was around the time. That was around the time that I started doing EAS and weather stuff. I pretty much immediately went to do spotter training because I wanted to learn more about weather. Why not just learn how to spot the weather? That'll definitely help trying to understand it. That was my MO back then.
Oh, I also got to mention this, but I saw Sterling's data room.
I have a.
Nice.
It's got you saw their server room.
I have.
They didn't let me
Looking
in there,
at it,
but
I have the spotter ID through the spotter network, but not through NWS.
Spotter network is
Yeah,
overrated.
like the way I see it is you've got because here's the thing. Whenever I was back in Arkansas, their spotter program was like really small, and they didn't understand that the spotter network was not run by the NWS, even though it literally tells it to you on the site. So, they're like, you are required to have a spotter ID through the spotter ID network to spot for the NWS, and I was like, no, yeah, no, you don't. And they even tried to make it briefly a requirement for you to use APRS to show your location on the spotter ID network. Like, but they quickly overturned that rule whenever like half the people didn't have any APRS equipment. So it's like,
Yep.
So if anyone has questions about the Sterling, feel free to inquire because that was an interesting trip.
Yeah.
Wait, they didn't give me an ID. What?
Yeah. You'd be surprised.
They gave me the phone number.
Yeah, I still need to get Missoula's phone number.
I should add that into my ERN phone.
as a speed dial.
Speed dial.
I'm not
Should
giving
actually
you
call him
Sterling's...
and make sure the phone still works because we barely get any bad weather out here.
I'm not
Sure, they would
giving
appreciate
you...
the ring.
I'm not giving you Sterling's direct forecaster number because I only use that for important reasons.
Actually,
Quotes
like,
there.
would they get frustrated if you called them? Like,
Right now, probably yes, but usually they don't care.
No, like any WFO.
If it's important, they usually don't care. They'll usually help out. Like I had a call for weather radio breaking. Some of their products kept updating. Confirmatory.
When their
yesterday.
weather radio stuff breaks, I tend to just call them on their actual main line.
I call them. I call their phone number that I always have on. I have it on speed dial. So I call the contact is Liz Sterling, and the note
I've
says
had to call them a
issues too many
lot
flood
because
warnings.
KIG 98 was down for like a few months.
Can I just? I'm gonna point this out here, but I have beef on wireless stations right now
what?
Why?
Really?
because they can't update properly if it's bad weather.
I was actually wrong. I've actually been to 4 spotter trainings. Because I've done Little Rock, Tulsa, Milwaukee, and then I did the Norman Advanced Spotter training because I was bored in class.
Nice.
So I've been to 4.
I did that
Because I was bored. Why did you do the weather spotter training? Because I was bored.
Bored.
Because
Whenever
I
I
didn't
first
touch grass.
started, I did both Tulsa and Little Rock because there was a point in time that it was questionable if I was going to be moving to Little Rock. So glad I didn't. So I did Tulsa and Little Rock, and then because also Little Rock's WFO is so close, I almost also did Springfield, but basically I was bored in class one day because I had all my classwork done and I was sitting around doing nothing, and frickin' Norman was doing an advanced spotter training and I was like, fuck it. I've got nothing to do. So I just sat through the rest of that class and lunch in their advanced spotter training. Never got an ID.
Nice.
Yeah, and meanwhile, my entire coverage area is now under a heat advisory for Monday.
Good job.
On Monday, it's going to be 91 at my work.
I think in Missoula, I think it's supposed to be 93 on Monday.
Tomorrow it's supposed to be, God knows, I think it's like 92. And then again, I was in there, I saw the freaking database, so 90 something. They showed me how they create the forecast packages and whatnot.
So what
also,
you're
the
saying
answer
is
90, by the way, I was right.
the temperature number will be thick. thick.
Thick.
No, he was showing us how to create the databases, and then he's like, I would do this. So he showed us, like, you can draw a circle and then increase the temperature, and he said, if I send this, I'm probably getting fired.
John, only you would cause an NWS person, like, at their office.
Only you
to be
could cause
fired,
NWS.
like, on the spot. For no reason other than you're there.
Then again, if it makes you feel any worse, they sent it at 10. They sent their weekly at 10:40 in the morning by once when the 10:40 a.m.
John's like, I got work later. Can you send the test early?
You know what's funny?
Have you actually done that?
No, no. This was funny. From a couple days ago, they sent a severe thunderstorm watch, and someone complained that they didn't get it, so they sent it twice. I got an already heard on monitor 1, and I talked to them. I talked to the person there, and I'm like, "Why didn't you ask me? I have this system here that gets it." And they're like,
So, John, what you're saying is, if I harass my local WFO enough, I'll become friends with them.
You could.
Bruh.
"It's a long story. It's a long story."
And that sounds like a story for another episode of the EARN podcast.
Join us
Thanks,
next week
everybody
when
for coming. I guess we have a
Sure.
new sponsor of KJ7BRE Communications. Go to kj7bre.com/yourmom for
Which
more
is-
information.
Yeah, all lowercase.
All
And then-
lowercase.
All lowercase, yes. Make sure you use
exists.
HTTPS for security reasons. And then also sponsored by WEAS-ERN. Give them all of your money.
Actually,
technology.
legitimately,
I want money
whenever Gabe and I make that whole new freaking NDEC thing that we've been ranting on for the whole amount of yes,
Yeah.
I was thinking about making it cheap, just to kind of go oof. No, well,
Boost
here's the
competition.
thing. Well, yes. Not only does it boost competition on the actual, like, if I can get this, like, actually certified by FCC and stuff. Oh yeah, that'll boost competition, because why would they go out and buy Sage and this?
Just build it to the
Yeah,
Oasis
exactly.
standards and
Here's
you'll be
the
good.
thing. If
Yep.
I build it to the Oasis standard, and the idea is it can be able to be run either, like, on hardware or in a Docker container, and a lot of radio stations want to start virtualizing, because they can just, like, spin up an old server and make it do anything. So since most radio stations just have server gear just lying around, even if it's ancient, if we build it to run on ancient or even, like, low power shit like a Raspberry Pi, and then sell it for like $150, why spend $2,000 on a Sage Digital when you can spend $150 plus maybe like a small monthly fee for updates if you want that? It will drive costs down. For example, nothing against DAS. I know they're just trying to make money because it's such a niche market, but it's like, yo, you're selling a computer that is like 10 years out of date for prices that rival modern day computers.
Who knows? Maybe
Yeah,
then
who
DAS
knows?
3 has
Like,
something
who
modern
knows?
in
It might
that
be
we
a
just don't know
fucking,
about.
like, it's Ryzen
It's
9.
got HDMI.
It's a Ryzen Threadripper.
Just wait until there's an EAS unit that actually supports SDI. I'm waiting. I'm
here's the
waiting.
thing.
Same here.
Here's the thing.
SDI
If
is
it's
the new
virtualized,
thing.
then we can. If it's
not new, though.
virtualized, then we can implement that into ours. Because if you have the hardware, we can just
Exactly.
provide the code to do so. And that's the thing about virtualized thing. We can also have, like, if a radio station was like, "Yo, we want to use this." What's a good example? Like Minerva hardware. Hey, we've got this Minerva box we want to... I think that's a thing. I don't know. But I'm going to say it is.
Minerva protocol. Actually do, and
Yes,
a better
there you go.
example would be
Room.
Media Room.
Hey, I've got this Media Room box. And let's say we have an implemented Media Room. We can be like, all right, that will be freaking... Yeah,
X amount.
$100, right? Well, $100, we'll custom make this for you, and then we'll also include it in future releases for everyone to have. Since it's also a Docker container, if you run it as Docker, first of all, Docker is super simple. It runs on literally fucking anything. And if Gabe and I do it the way we're talking about, you can have your entire EAS chain virtualized, which means that you can use hardware you already have. Just like, or if you don't have the hardware yet, go onto eBay, buy a cheap ass Dell PowerEdge. Boom, EAS and chain.
We can even have it so that it can integrate. We can even depending on what stations use as their playout, we can integrate that in there with more data on what the alert actually contains.
Good luck getting the FCC to verify that.
If the FCC would verify the 911D, I think this would be fine. Because
they verified the
Gorman-Redlich cap deck.
They verified the cap deck and the EAS-1.
Most server gear is already like certified for RF emissions anyway, so we don't have to have any hardware to be certified for RF emissions because that's on.
We would have to pass the FEMA.
This device must accept interference.
That's on their server. That's on the server manufacturer, not us. The only thing we would need to do is just get the software to a place where FEMA gives us the thumbs up.
And then we would also have to get it. Verified and made sure that it falls underneath Part 11.
Well, currently, technically speaking,
just make sure the software's balling and we'll be good.
NDEC already does, but mostly falls completely under Part 11. There's some parts that are like the cap integration in it right now is iffy at best, but
Gabe, fix the cap deck on my machine.
Instead of fixing the cap deck on your machine, why not just build an entire new version of the NDEC with the cap deck integrated? That fixes the problem entirely.
I haven't had cap capabilities for over a month now.
You have a Gorman-Redlich cap deck.
Bruh. And you're monitoring things that do have cap.
Beautiful.
Anyways, that concludes the ERN podcast. Thank you guys for joining. Join us next week when Marley exits our solar system with the amount of time we've been burying her.
With status quo setting off the entirety of the United States.
Is it just when's Marley? When was Marley last in here? It was 3 weeks.
Let's not talk about it.
Anyway, end. Bye.
See ya.
See you guys next week.
You like jazz?